Hi, I'm Ed Wright, CEO of Wright Mowers, and today we're launching a new product, the ZTS. Over the past couple years, we've been working on building out our complete range of riders, starting with the ZXT, ZXL, and now the ZTS. So let me give you just a quick recap on the range here. So first off, the ZXT, standing for Extreme, runs 26-inch tires, a pumped motor setup, 8-quart hydro system, and this allows us to put these big, huge engines a little bit lower down in the chassis with a wider stance and more stability. This machine also has a long travel seat suspension here, so the whole throne moves up and down. The ZXL is our middle range, simple, solid machine. We can still put a bigger motor in here, and it runs the 4400 transmissions with 24-inch tires. Now on the ZTS, what we've done is we have the Hydrogear 3400 transmissions, 24-inch tires, and an FT730 engine with suspension. So let me start here on this machine. There's a couple different ways of doing suspension, but the reason why we did the suspension is, everybody wants more comfort, less fatigue, higher production, but also a simple, solid machine. And so this allows us to achieve a lot of those things all at once. Also, when you have a floating inner chassis here, there's limitations on how smooth you can make that ride, because the mower, if it's a rigid chassis and it hits terrain like this, where this wheel's a little bit higher because the ground comes up here, the machine wobbles and it gets thrown around. With independent front suspension like this, the whole chassis now can glide over the ground much, much more smoothly. Now, one important thing with suspension on a mower is you can't have the frame going up and down and it affecting the cut height, because that would look terrible. And so the way this works is this lift arm that holds the deck is attached to the suspension arm itself, so the deck follows the front wheels as you go over that terrain. Now, there's a couple ways to do suspension. One is you could do kind of like a double link type suspension, or a swinging A-arm like what we have here. There are pros and cons, but one thing I like about this particular setup here is that when the wheel swings out here, you don't want it to create a whole sort of teeter-totter with the chassis. When it comes out here, it has more leverage against this spring, and so it's softer. The suspension is softer when the caster is out here. When the wheel swings in here, closer to the center of the machine, the suspension actually gets a little bit stiffer and helps maintain the height of the chassis here. And so I actually prefer the swing arm setup. It's also a lot more simple, and as you know, our entire brand is about production cost, life cycle cost, total cost of ownership. Anything we can do to make the machine more simple is what we're going to be doing. Now, this machine here comes standard with a front headlight. You have tie-down points here on the nose of the machine. When we get in the machine, we've got gripper here, and then on the height select here, there's no ball detents or any finicky mechanisms. It's just a trailer hitch pin, a wagon pin, going in a hole, simple and solid. The foot pedal here, when you push it up, that chrome latch latches into a pin here, and that little prong there, you press with your foot to unlatch the deck. And so it's completely hands-free. A lot of these machines, you have to take your hand off the control to release the cutter deck, and we don't like to do that. You also notice we don't have a parking brake pedal on this one like we do these. You'll see why in a quick second. Underneath here, you can get access to the deck drive, and we do some things that are unique here. One is that we run 2 belts. So there's one belt here on this side. It's going this direction. So this belt from the engine load is a straight span. This helps the belt last a whole lot longer. Then this span here goes straight to the side pulley under load, and it puts this idler here on the slack side, where there's really no engine load on this whatsoever. We also use a 6-inch idler here. When that radius is bigger, the belt doesn't have to flex as much and it lasts longer. We run a double row idler bearing in here that helps the idler pulley last significantly longer as well. And then over on this side here, you can see that we run a secondary belt. It's a double pulley here. And what that does is this is the load side driving that, and then here is on the slack side, again helping it last a whole lot longer. And you see our idler arm here. A lot of folks use an extension spring with hooks on the end. When they vibrate, the hooks snap off, but with a compression spring like this, there's nothing to snap off. Now it has our newer style deck with a flat back on it. This machine's offered in a 52 or 61-inch deck configuration. In a 61, it comes with the 24 by 12 tire that we have here. On a 52, it comes with the 24 by 950 tire to maintain the clearance here on the edge of the deck. And on the front, we have 13 by 650 pneumatic tires. All right, moving back a little bit here, we have the gas tank. This tank here on the left-hand side is the same tank as the other machines, and holds about 7.5 gallons of gas. We've angled this to give the best view possible. A little lip here to prevent some grass or mud from getting thrown up. Good sight lines, and keeping the center of gravity low. On the other side there, that's a console. That's not a gas tank. Same shape, same external features, but inside there we have the electrical system, which we'll look at here in a second. You can see we've got the suspension here underneath the seat. And then we've got a phone pocket on the side of the seat. Then underneath here, you can see that we pivot the seat on a bushing, an actual bushing, not just a bolt. And we have isolators here. What happens is the machine goes over the terrain, does this a little bit, right? So what we want is a seat mechanism here that counters that out. And it significantly increases the comfort of the machine to have a seat suspension component that's in the yaw direction as well as in the vertical direction, then independent suspension that damps the amount of kicking that can come from the front and chatter that comes from uneven terrain. So on the hand control side here, heavy duty levers, we have two positions here, lower and upper. We've got a Heim joint here so you can move your controls forwards or backwards depending on what's comfortable for you. And when you move this lever out, it engages a switch there, which is the starter interlock switch. So you have these out to start the engine. You bring them in, you start driving. You see this little bell crank right here. It's really key. When you move this in, it releases the parking brake. This is something we came up with a number of years ago. We had a patent on an aspect of it, and we still use it today where we have a transmission with a parking pawl type transmission. If it's a disc brake type transmission, it would take too much force to be able to do this, but where we have a parking pawl here makes it really easy. And let me describe why. A lot of machines, what you have to do is you have to have the controls out and the parking brake on to start the engine. Then you start the engine, and if you bring the lever in, the engine tries to die. You kind of have to do everything in sequence. It's kind of like setting a mousetrap every time you try to use the machine. But with this, you start the engine, move the controls in, and off you go. It's all integrated together. Makes it much quicker and easier to use. All right, here we have the console. We like to put the controls over here on the right-hand side so they don't get snagged by trees on the trim side of the machine. Simple, solid setup here. Here we have the light switch. So you have to have the ignition on and the light switch on. You can see, it's hard to tell in the sunlight, but the front light is on there. And this includes an auxiliary circuit. So there's an auxiliary circuit here that allows you to put corner pods on. With just the front light, it's kind of like a dusk type thing. If you're going to be cutting in darker conditions, you really need a full floodlight around the unit. But it comes standard with the key and the auxiliary circuit and the charge port. You know, you can use a tire inflator or charge your phone while you're on the run. And then in here, we have the battery. You can access this without any wrenches or tools. So you can put jumper cables on here, quick and easy, or jump pack. And then here we have the fuse box. By the way, our electrical systems are some of the most simple in the industry. We only have a single relay and a single mower fuse. And so this, or single chassis fuse. The relay is to turn the clutch on and off. And the less components you have, if you have half as many parts, you have double the reliability. Because we all know electrical issues can be frustrating. Also included in here, there's a fuse for the light setup for the accessory circuit, the 12 volt, or the auxiliary port. And then we have the spare fuses here. So those are just in case you need them. All right, underneath here, we'll track the belt drive back. So you can see here, we used to put our belt guide on the idler arm up here. We now put it on the deck here, which is a little more beefy. And the reason for this is this run of the belt, it's going this direction as the engine is running. And so if a stick hits it or whatever, you don't want it to derail from this pulley here. And so what that guide does is gives the belt as much liberty is possible, but not so much that it's possible to jump out of that pulley there. Like many of our machines, we put deck wheels on the back of the deck. This part of the deck here is actually the part of the deck that's furthest from any tire on the mower. And so having wheels back here is important to reduce or prevent scalping. You got your push arms. We have our control lever here. Let me point out here, our steering dampers, we actually have 3 holes available here. If you put it in the upper hole, the machine's going to be a little bit more aggressive. If you put it in the back hole, it's going to be a little bit softer. And then here we have a reverse tracking and up front, a front tracking, both very easy to get to. Going back towards the transmission, we run the 3400 transmission. Hydrogear offers these in a lot of configurations, and we spec them to give you the best value and the best life. So here, this is a short axle version, and so the transmission's pushed outward a little bit, letting us have a shorter axle. It puts less load on the bearing and helps the transmission last longer. The other thing that we do here is you see that we don't have a white plastic reservoir sitting here like many machines would. And the way this works, this is not new to Hydrogear, but it's new in the 3400 transmissions. They've been doing it for a long time, but here we're offering it for the first time on this size machine for us. In here, there's a vent. There's sort of a check valve style setup that lets the transmission breathe out when the oil expands, breathe in when the oil goes in, and in there there's a an air expansion tank. That air allows the oil level to rise and fall, but prevents the oil from leaking out of the transmission out of the top here. So it's a much cleaner setup than having remote bottles on the machine. And when you change the oil, what you do, you unscrew the filter off the bottom of the machine, the oil pours out clean and easy, and then to fill it, you remove this plug here. See it better. See that plug right there? You set a funnel right here and fill it up. Real easy and straightforward. In here we have our hydro release, so you can see here that's your release. So if you need to wheel it out of the garage or something like that, release it there. All right, coming back here with a single larger tank here, it's a very simple, straightforward fuel system, shut-off valve. Here we have a pass-through engine deck like we have on a lot of our machines. You see the ground there below, and even in areas like this here, you can see that we've got a clear drop, a wide open hole here, so we're less likely to build up oil residue in this area. What this does is it means that it's less likely to build up debris around the engine and suffocate the motor. Now here we have the FT730. It's been out for a good couple of years, and it's basically the same engine block as an FX730, but has a plastic housing on it. And one thing the plastic housing does is it's a little bit quieter than steel. And then here on the front, instead of having a canister standing up off the top of the engine like this, it's integrated into the housing of the engine. So if I take this off here, you can see the clean out ports. So it's very easy to inspect or clean out the cylinder heads, which is very critical to the life of the engine. And here, we still have a cylindrical filter, which is really important. But because it's built into the engine housing, it's less likely to get knocked, vibrate, get smashed by a tree, whatnot. The other thing I like about it is with the remote style up here, it's easy to put the cap on upside down. But here, the duct bill is always pointed in the downward direction. The airflow is a little bit optimized, so you get real good filtration on a very tried and true engine. Now the rear bumper of the machine, it's very similar aesthetic to this. And it's not just about aesthetics. We're not about aesthetics. We're about utility. The reason it's shaped this way is we don't want mud flying up. So this helps protect some of that rooster tailing that can happen. And then we tuck this in here. We want to tuck it in so when you go into a corner by house or a fence or air conditioner or something, you're less likely to knock it when you look at the radius of where the tire sits here to the radius of where this sits from the zero turn point. Now, that machine there has a tubular bumper. This has a plate bumper. Both of them we paint black so that when they get scratched up, they don't look nasty. And that one has a rectangular hitch receiver, square receiver. And this one, we do offer as an accessory a wagon type hitch that you can put on here. And there you see the tie down anchor point. Now, let's go underneath the machine here for a quick second. You can see the lower guard protecting the muffler. We also have a belly pan that helps protect the belt drive from stuff getting at it, help protect the transmissions. And there you have a Warner clutch. It's sized pretty large for this style of machine. We feel like clutches are better to oversize because it lasts a lot longer, give you more for your money. And you can see the belt run there. Again, this belt run is only going to the left side of the deck with the 2-belt system, which helps everything last a whole lot longer. So there you have it. It's a simple, solid machine, simple, solid design. It's not entirely a new design to us because it has a lot of common features with the mower that existed before this one, except for we added the suspension to it and we updated everything we knew that we could do better and cross-pollinated with some of the features here. So between the Extreme, the Large, and the ZTS with suspension here, we have the full line of fully heavy-duty commercial machines giving you your best cut per dollar. So there you have it. Hope you have a great rest of your season.